Afternoon and good morning. This is the 1980th day of continuous webinar conducted by International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy. Today, our guest is Dr. Jagdish Parma. Let us begin the session with 1 minute silent prayer.
डॉक्टर कुरैशी आप अपना पीपीटी को हटा लीजिए।
जी।
Thank you all. The International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy comprises of homeopathic lovers, students, and doctors, and we have 3 sessions every day. The first session of the day is already over in Hindi from 7:30 to 8:30. From 8:30 to 9:30, we have the international session in English, and from 9:30 to 10:30, we have a local language session in Malayalam. We are uploading the videos of the same on the very next day itself so that those who miss the session can watch it again and subscribe the same without paying any money. The purpose of the forum is to take homeopathy to every home around the world. And we are about to reach our 2000 day within 20 days. That means we have wonderful days of 1,980 days of sessions, 3 sessions every day. That means we were able to, already we have uploaded more than 3,500 videos in the YouTube, and all the videos have a very good number of listeners as well as watchers. Those people who are watching are not only homeopathic doctors, but also public persons. So that means all of you who need to support this organization called the International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy, which was formed at the time of COVID. As you all know, there was no time to communicate one another. We have formed such a platform, and doctors from more than 85 countries are present at different sessions in this forum. And let me come to today's guest. As you know, it is Dr. Jignisha Palmer. She has completed MD and is working as the assistant professor, Department of Physiology and Biochemistry, L.R. Shah Homeopathic Medical College. And she was a former homeopathic consultant at Home Homeopathic Clinic, Radhai Rajkot, and former internee and assistant to Dr. Mayuri's Civil Hospital, Rajkot. And she has a publication, an article published in Gadi Journal of Homeopathic Science and Research in August 2025, in the name of In Search of Ways of Evolution in the Field of Homeopathy Healthcare Services. That's a very good subject she has chosen, and different people have made beautiful comments on her presentation also. Today, a doctor is about to talk about usefulness of clinical pathological understanding of homeopathic medicines in management of upper respiratory tract infections. So we welcome Dr. Jignesh Palmer to the session. Oh, welcome. You can go ahead with the presentation for the next 50 minutes, and then we can have a discussion for about some 10 minutes. You are co-host, you can share your PPT and everything. A screen is visible.
Okay.
You can make it big screen. Okay, it's fine. Fine. You can go ahead with the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much, sir, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And all the participants, my colleagues, all the practitioners around the globe, I'm wishing you very good evening. As sir said, very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. The first day of February, I hope the full month of February is being happy for all of the soul of the world. And as I have chosen this topic is because as we are here at the peak of the winter season, uh, especially all the patients, as more of the patients will of the upper respiratory tract infections, right? So, My today's topic is usefulness of clinico-pathological understanding of homeopathic medicines in management of URTI, that is upper respiratory tract infection.
You may not be able to see the screen, but we can see.
PowerPoint is not showing, right, sir?
Yes, it is there. The aim is there. The first, second slide, that is aim. To demonstrate
Okay.
how clinical pathological understanding
Yes,
enhances.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Yes. So, as I have chosen this topic is because of this aim that to demonstrate how the clinico-pathological understanding enhance the remedy selection. As we are having thousands of remedies, so uh, we have knowledge of disease as well as the knowledge of drug proving, that is our materia medica. I want to bridge the gap between the pathology and materia medica. That's why I have aimed this topic. This is specially to improve the outcome, as we have to select from the number of drugs and to prevent the complications as the following of the recurrent upper respiratory tract infection cases. So at the end of the session, we will be able to identify the pathological stage of the upper respiratory tract infection, and also be able to correlate the tissue changes with symptom expression, that the tissue changes and the person expresses the symptoms, or he or she will feel what kind of symptoms they are going to feel. Then we also able to classify the remedies according to the pathological affinity. As we know that our materia medica, there are number of materia medica or according to the type of presentation. So from that we can choose the classification according to the pathological affinity. So then next our objective is to modify the prescription as pathology evolves. uh, this topic, that is upper respiratory tract infection, is very important as it shows the course of inflammation, how it, and in acute inflammation it shows the all the stages of the inflammation. That's why as the pathology evolves we can modify our prescription accordingly. Then apply the clinico-pathological reasoning in the case management. So once we are able to know the disease condition, the pathology is what the tissue changes, what the tissue reaction is there, we can accordingly manage the case of the upper respiratory tract infection. Yes. Upper respiratory tract infection, that is URTI, in that cases, there are number of stages, especially from starting from the simple injury, the cell reaction towards the end of the consequences of that inflammation, either resolving or it can be complicated. So accordingly, we know in the short span of days, in few days, we can identify the stages of the inflammation. It is very easily we can identify the pathological stages of the disease condition. That's why I have chosen this topic. As well as the upper respiratory tract infections are most common illness across all of the age group, all worldwide. So all the age groups are somehow in full of full year, sometimes for 4 times 5 times, the persons which are having disposition for the infection of these pharynx, larynx, trachea, so they have more times they have this infection. And from the simple viral rhinitis to the recurrent sinusitis or pharyngitis are also covered by this infection, as well as the important age group, especially the children and elders, are very much prone to have this complaint, as well as because of the over-counter prescription, as URTI is not that persons or patients go to the hospital, but they are taking medicines from the dispensaries, pharmacies. So they are using without prescription. They are using antibiotics without prescription, or they are disrupting, or they stop after taking for 1 day or 2 day. So the antibiotic use is more in cases of the URDI, as well as they are using over, because if they don't get relief in 2 days, they will bring again for 2 days. 2 days. If they don't get relief in 5 days, so that will continue for a week, 1 week, 2 week, and that is not getting resolving. So it is also making the person antibiotic resistant. That's why we need to go in this detail. So not practicing like to suppressing the symptoms, that will not work. We need to adopt a holistic management of disease, and that is possible only after we can correlate the pathological symptoms with the our materia medica. Okay, this is what I have taken from the Wisconsin Upper Respiratory Symptom Survey. It shows that there are number of cases in India and worldwide that are in the millions and billions. So annually in India there are millions of cases, worldwide there are billions of cases, and the mortality rate is also very high accordingly. So there are number of deaths per year. There are number of deaths per year worldwide, but they are low. But the number of cases are more from the children or from the age group of elders, as they are in the high risk groups, and also the children's less than 5 years, and also the children's of the rural poor families. They are having the more or recurrent URDA, as well as the immunocompromised patients are also prone to have this infection easily. The most seasons where the this infection is present is in India. It is monsoon as well as in the winters. In winter, this is the February month here. I am also today having kind of some irritation in the throat and as well as in the nose. So in the February and January, February, December to February, as well as from August to October, in the period of monsoon and winter, there is peak of these diseases, this condition. As well as globally, the winter is the season where this kind of infection is prominent, and the pathogens are similar in the both the continent, that is rhinoviruses, influenza, respiratory syncytial virus, adenovirus. These are the main pathogens. Impact of this is the major cause of the pediatric mortality and absenteeism. Children's are staying at home, not going school, as well as the elders or the adults cannot go to the office, and there is productivity loss, or there may be a different kind of morbidities. So this epidemiology itself shows that we need to understand the cases. We need to more concentrate on the cases which we are having in the practice day-to-day life, as they are the bread and butter of the every practitioner. As well as this survey, that is the Wisconsin Upper Respiratory Survey 21. It is part of the WURSS 44. Here there are 21 symptoms taken, and it is validated illness specific quality of life instrument. This tool is important to measure the symptoms severity and functional impairment, the symptom severity and functional impairment in the patients who are suffering with the URDA, especially the URDA. Thus, as we have learn about the epidemiology, and the survey also says the functional impairment and the symptom severity in these cases, the decreased productivity of the person. So it is very much important to treat these patients priorly. So thus the clinico-pathological understanding of a disease and a homeopathic medicine, bridging the pathology with the patient's experience, is very important. Homeopathic medicine evaluation. Evaluation provides a structured way to measure the improvement in both the symptom relief and quality of life after treatment. This is highlighting that homeopathic medicines are very much able to provide what other systems of medicine cannot, as the recurrence, it can break the recurrence, it can improve the immunity of a person, and by selecting the most effective similum, it becomes more effective, as we are considering the clinico-pathological understanding of the symptoms. What is the tissue reaction behind this presence of symptoms? So extreme accuracy in the selection of simillimum, as well as its effectiveness is giving the minimal deviation, as we know the clinico-pathological understanding of the symptoms, and without any harm to patient, as this is the special criteria of the homeopathy. So what includes these WURSS 21? It includes the symptom severity and functional impairment. This is the list of symptoms that we have to consider each and every patient, that what kind of symptoms he or she is coming with, and what effect in their daily activities is listed on the right side. So I'm just reading: the runny nose, plugged nose, sneezing, sore throat, scratchy throats, cough, hoarseness, head congestion, chest congestion, feeling tired. These are the symptoms present that patient will present to the practitioner, and this is the associated complaint that is present with patients: decreased ability to think clearly. This will happen in these cases. There is a impaired sleep quality, there is breathing difficulties, there is difficulty in the physical activities like walking, climbing stairs, exercise. There have a impaired work performance, there has in decreased social interaction because of these symptoms, and overall the life of a person will get impacted. So as we know, I have discussed already that allopathic medicines are, as patients bring from the pharmacies without prescription. So I need we need to know what is the important allopathic medicines in these cases or homeopathic medicine in these cases. The philosophy of this, both the system of medicines are, as we know, homeopathy is our system. Fundamental principles of homeopathic medicines or homeopathic practice is like cures like. Those symptoms which are produced by medicine will be relieved by that medicine. And what is the philosophy of allopathic medicines? That it targets the pathogens and the symptom suppression. Here in homeopathic medicine, we don't suppress the disease, but targeting the pathogens and don't allowing the immune reaction or the inflammatory reactions which is adopted by the tissues is suppressed by the allopathic medicines. Then remedies, for example, homeopathic medicines like belladonna, heparsol, arsenicum, alb, kali beach, these are the common remedies which we use in the cases of URTI. In the allopathic medicine, if we see, they are antibiotics, antipyretics, antihistamines, and decongestants. The mode of action of homeopathic medicine is it stimulates the immune system, while the allopathic medicine, it suppresses the immune system and has a pharmacological action only. Onset of relief, yes, this can be debatable. As many of persons suggest that the homeopathic medicines work slowly or gradually, or it is having a longer period of time. But there are cases that's why it is important to choose a very effective simillimum to bring the rapid relief of the symptom, which is already present in the allopathic medicine, which they can predict the that after providing the medicine, this the symptoms will resolve. For example, antipyretic medicines, if given for 6 to 8 hours, the patient will not have a fever, increased temperature. Then safety profile, as no one can debate on that, the homeopathic medicines have no side effects or have a mild side effects if they are noted anywhere, while in allopathic medicines they have number of side effects, as like possible resistance, as the misuse and overuse of the antibiotics, as well as GIT upsets, drowsiness. These are the okay, these are the symptoms which are produced by the medications. So in both the system of medicine, there is clinico-pathological relevance. As in homeopathic medicines, after giving medicines, we bring the tissue reaction in the healthy person, and after providing the remedy, we resolve it. In allopathic medicines, it is dependent on the severity of symptoms or from the lab finding. Network નથી આવતું. The problem in the current practice is that we are choosing from the one symptom, that if there is a sneezing, give Allium cepa, if there is a thick discharge, give Pulsatilla. But we should take care of every tissue reaction happening in the at the day, first day, second day, third day. Accordingly, we should prescribe. So what happens if we choose randomly that for a single symptom, this single medicine, there will be fail, there will be change, there will be frequent change of medicines we need, as the medicine will not work in every tissue reaction. There will be suppurative complications because there is no resolution of resolved inflammation, and also there can be a development of the chronicity. The patient from acute inflammation can go toward the chronic inflammation. So when pathology changes but the prescription does not, that surely the treatment will fail. These are the stages of inflammation: vascular congestion, serous exudation, mucus infiltration, and sometimes suppuration if the inflammation doesn't resolve. Each stage represents a distinct tissue response, and each response corresponds to a different group of homeopathic remedies that is to be understood. For example, there is an injury, these are the symptoms of the inflammation. There will be pain, swelling, redness, and warmth. This is because of the vascular congestion. Then this tissue damage will release some chemicals, and there will be clot formation, as well as this vascular permeability. Increased vascular permeability is because of the increased vessel caliber, that is vasodilatation and increased permeability. And there is migration of the phagocytes towards the periphery of the blood vessels, and from there they are coming out of the vessels at the site of injury. The special phagocytes are neutrophils and macrophages. They form phagocytes, the evading bacteria. They will kill the bacteria, and there is a clot formation. This clot formation will resolve, and that is tissue repair. So inflammation, first in first hours, there is a proliferation of tissue repair that is will take the days, and the remodeling of that part will take weeks. This is the course of inflammation and resolution. These are the 4 stages: vascular congestion, serous exudation, mucus infiltration, and suppuration. These are the 4 stages of inflammation. So, in the cases of URTI, બરાબર છે? URTI or upper respiratory diseases includes the nose, sinus, pharynx, and larynx. Or common examples of disease are rhinitis, sinusitis, pharyngitis, tonsillitis, laryngitis, viral URTIs. These are the examples. There are 4 stages, or for pathology, we have a patient with this 4 stage. If the patient comes with a mucosal congestion, edema, hyperemia, the patient came in a few days after the inflammation has taken place. Then if there is exudation state, that means the serous present, the pleural, if the serous is there, that is viral infection. If the pleural exudation is there, that is bacterial infection, or there can be a mucoid discharge. If there is a structural changes like a hypertrophy of the tonsils or adenoids, polyp formation in the, that means the inflammation, acute inflammation is now diverted towards the chronic sinusitis, the chronic inflammation. And also there can be complications of this as this inflammation spreads towards the middle ear, that is otitis media, towards the lower respiratory tract, that is bronchitis, or there can be a systemic involvement. So what is clinico-pathological importance and what this approach says? This says the clinical symptoms that what patient feels are because of the what tissues are having the changes. And also this is similar with the drug pathogenesis. What our drugs are also producing the tissue changes. And knowing this, both the conditions, we can prescribe medicine effectively. The local symptoms, the systemic symptoms, and on examination we will find sneezing, nasal obstruction, sore throat, hoarseness and cough, fever, malaise, headache and body ache, the red congested mucosa, swollen tonsils, tender sinusitis, cervical lymphadenopathy. These are the examination findings. For example, we are taking few diseases with their pathology, with their clinical features and key correlations. In acute rhinitis, there is a viral inflammation of the nasal mucosa. It will cause sneezing and watery discharge. The discharge, which type of discharge is there, will reflect the type of pathology. In acute sinusitis, there is a bacterial infection, there is a pus accumulation in the sinuses. It will be shown by the patient as a facial pain, the pleural nasal discharge, the site-specific pain like frontal pain, the maxillary pain. Then pharyngitis, tonsillitis. Patient will complain of sore throat, dysphagia and fever. Laryngitis, the edema of vocal cords. The hoarseness and dry is the presentation of the patient, and there is a voice change which correlates with the pathology, is the inflammation or edema of the vocal cords. So bringing the pathology, modern pathology, bringing the bridge between the modern pathology and homeopathy, we can give some examples like vascular congestion. As we know, the belladonna is work well when there is only vascular congestion, when there is a few hours or days or day of a injury or infection. Then serous inflammation, when there is a watery discharge in of the acute rhinitis, we can think of Allium cepa. Then fibrinous exudate, there is a fibrinous exudation. This kind of presentation is present in the Kali bichromicum, and there is suppuration, that is there is no resolution of the inflammation stage, and there is a complication or the spread of the infection with the bacteria. That HEPA self is the medicine. These are the also the examples of the same, the remedies with their pathological correlation. In the initial stage where there is only hyperemia, sudden arterial congestion, dry mucous membrane, we can think of aconite. In the transitional stage, the soft pulse, moderate fever, and net નથી આવતું sir, aconite and gelsemium. In advanced case stages, the tough, viscid, ropey secretions and ulceration of mucous membrane happen. There is no tissue repair, but the tissue is getting ulcerated. That is the symptom of Kali bichromicum. And the destructive stage, the burning sensation, the tissue thinness, the significant prostration present in the patient is suggesting of the arsenicum album. Okay, I am sharing a case of bronchial asthma. This is the patient named as Rajvi Dodia, 11 years old. Patient came to my Padadri homeopathic clinic. She is diagnosed with the bronchial asthma. She was having this complaint since 5 years. She just started as the recurrent upper respiratory tract infection, which was lingering for 3 to 4 months every year. When she came to me, she was having coughing with expectoration, very sticky, white, frothy, which aggravates from lying down, from cold draft of air in the cold weather, from cold ring, and it is getting better only by rising from the lying down position. She clearing the throat very frequently, and she is having sensation as if something is stick to the throat, as well as she is having pain in the back and legs. She is very thin. Okay. See, also she is having breathlessness from the change of weather, from dust, perfume, excretion, simple from running. She is not running fast. Slowly she is running. So she is feeling breathlessness. Then she is suffering from sneezing. Even she is not bathing in the morning. She takes bath in afternoon. If she takes bath in the morning, she will have the sneezing, and as well as in the cold weather. She doesn't have any peculiar desire or aversion. Thermally, she was very chilly patient. She appearance wise, she is very lean and emaciated. Her tongue was white coated. In the past history, there was a skin urticaria in the winter before 3 years. After she came to me, there was at that time she was not having skin urticaria, but that was present in the before 3 years. Uh, if we talk about the mental disposition of the patient, she is crying easily, especially from the sensitivity stories. From the uh, stories of pain of others or of anybody, from serial also. She is very much affected with the criticism. If someone says a simple thing or any kind of small thing to her, she
Please wait. There is some network problem with Dr. Ignatius, and let us wait for her coming back. As you all know, the respiratory discomfort is very, very important, particularly during winter as well as summer. Let's wait and see. She was explaining a case of bronchial asthma. As we all know that homeopathy is having very good. Yes, yes. Yes, doctor, we couldn't hear you for some times as there was some network problem with you. You can start.
Mm,
Yes, you can. Let me check whether you. Yes, you are the co-host now. You can. Yes, you are explaining the bronchial asthma.
sir, my screen is visible to you?
Visible, and now the first part case bronchial, a case of bronchial asthma is there. You can see.
Okay, sir.
Go to the second next slide. You are
Yes, yes,
you are explaining the case. Whether the
yes, sir.
case.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So after completed my case, I have arrived at the physical at the physical level there is a high susceptibility there. At the mental level there is a high susceptibility, though the selection of potency is also high. What symptoms or the repertorial totality is repertorial system asthma weather change with weather cold, summer in amelioration, asthma cold air aggravates, asthma exertion after, asthma wheezing, cough asthmatic, expectoration color white, expectoration frothy, expectoration viscid, nose sneezing, moaning, respiration difficult, rising ameliorates, mind weeping, tearful mood, tendency, mind fear dark, mind fear ghost, mouth discoloration, white tongue, generality, lean people, and respiratory system, asthma, children in. This is the repertorial totality. From there, I have arrived this repertorial result, that is arsenical, pulsatilla, sulfur. They are highly comparable, and they are results showing in the first three. The arsenic covers the most of the symptoms with good marks, and that's why I have chosen the arsenicum album. The patient is relieved within 9 months of period, and after the first winter, when she was came to me, there is a full winter she is not able to live or breathe completely, but after 9 months of treatment she is able to enjoy winter, and I want to emphasize on the arsenic alb by is I want to describe it from the Ellen's encyclopedia. I have taken yes. I have taken arsenicum alb from the Ellen's encyclopedia and divided the symptoms of the respiratory system, the upper respiratory symptoms from the nose, larynx, pharynx only, and divided it into the location, sensation, modality, and concomitant. And by in each and every symptom, I have concluded the clinico-pathological understanding of that symptom. What are the tissue changes behind this presentation of a patient, and what is the diagnosis for which covers these symptoms, which diagnosis which covers this clinical pathology behind them, and which miasm shows the most of the presentation. So the first symptom is from the nose. There is a swollen and pouring forth a profuse watery discharge. This is simply body's inflammatory response to the pathogens or the irritation. The infection of the pathogens causes the vasodilatation. First, it irritates the mucous surface. The underlying vessels will dilate, and the increased vascular permeability of that vessels will lead to release of mediators at the site of inflammation, and this dilatation of blood vessels will become leaky and allows the fluids pass into the surrounding tissue, and this is presented here as a sensation or a symptom of a nose, that is present in the acute viral rhinitis or cold influenza, and it is covered by the sora miasm. On the mucous membrane, the next symptom is mucous membrane soreness. It is because of the damage to the epithelial lining of this increase, and with the increased vascular permeability, or there is a nerve sensitization which causes the pain of the mucous membrane of the nose. It happens in the rhinitis, in cases of rhinitis. It is also covered by the sora miasm. Then the upper part of the inner nose with ulceration, secreting a fatty liquor tasting bitter. Just after the 11 hours, once there is infection and there is a watery discharge which converted into the soreness, and after the 11 hours of the first infection, the patient is having this symptom, that is ulceration, secreting a fatty liquor, tasting bitter. This can be because of the upper nasal septum has a less blood supply. As the nasal septum has less blood supply, this can lead to ischemia and necrosis of the cartilage, and at the end of the perforation. This is showing that the arsenicum alb is having the tendency to develop pathology from the inflammation towards the ulceration. That is a complication of the inflammation. If the inflammation doesn't resolves, then there is a complication like suppuration, ulceration. So the ulceration part, from the inflammation towards the ulceration, that shows the fast progress of the disease. The disease present in the arsenicum alb. For example, these symptoms are present in the tuberculosis, leprosy, Wegener's necrosis, lymphomas, and fungal life. This is covered by the syphilis miasm. So from the sora to the syphilis, directly from the sora to syphilis, the arsenicum alb jumps from the sora to syphilis. The next symptom is violent and intractable continued sneezing, that the patient cannot stop the sneezing, especially in the morning, and uh, when patient reaches afternoon, there is no any signs of sneezing. That shows the hypersensitivity to temperature. It happens in the non-allergic rhinitis. Also, this symptom can be present in the allergic rhinitis also, but the hypersensitivity of this kind is covered by the syphilitic miasm. The nose for the 2 days considerably running it with the itching discharge. This is of the another prover. This is the symptom of the another prover. She is having running of discharge from the nose, and the discharges are itching and they are excoriating. This can be because of the pollen dust mite or mold, and exposure to the perfume, smokes, rapid change in the temperature or humidity can cause the hypersensitive inflammation. So this kind of presentation is present in the allergic rhinitis, that is hay fever. The arsenicum album covers the hay fever. It is a leading remedy in the this kind of conditions. After 3 days, there is a violent hemorrhage after violent vomiting. The patient suffers from the violent vomiting and with the violent hemorrhage. This is because the high pressure exerted on the nasal blood vessels during vomiting. This is the progress of a disease which is presented with the pain in the nasal bone in the root of the nose. That shows that there is inflammation of the mucous membrane of the air cells, which causes swelling, blocking natural discharge, leading to increased pressure and potential bacterial growth. In the sinusitis cases, there is a pain in the frontal sinuses and in the ethmoid sinuses. The presentation is the pain in the nasal bone and at the root of nose. This shows the chronic infection or malignancy. There can be ethmoid sinusitis, there can be deviated nasal septum. This is also a presentation of the deviated nasal septum or a trauma. This is covered by the ethmoid bone. There is a inflammation at the level of the bone, or the malignancy shows the syphilitic miasm. So nose, eyes, mouth, there is burning pain, watery discharge, watery mucus, which causes smarting and burning pain. With that shows these are the symptoms of hay fever because of the increased mucus productions. Offensive smell of peach and sulfur alternately. Offensive smell of peach and sulfur alternately. This is the symptom presented. We have come across this symptom in the COVID-19. There is a parosmia and phantosmia. This is the recovery phase of the virus or the chronic infection where the brain misinterprets the smell. The chronic sinusitis can lead to the accumulation of the pus and mucus that becomes infected and foul smelling, or known as cacosmia, the nauseating smell in the nose, that is ozina. So these are the symptoms of syphilis. In the larynx, there is a gangrenous croup, which is because of the severe prolonged lack of oxygen supply and the deep tissue invasion by the anaerobic bacteria like Clostridium and pharynges, which break down the tissue and creates the gas. This is covered by the syphilis miasm. The larynx and voice, the suffocative catarrh is present at night. It is because of the post nasal drip. The post nasal drip is very much important because it is covered by the most of the disease conditions, the sinusitis, the allergic rhinitis, pharyngitis. In that cases, the GERD cases is also showing the suffocative catarrh at night. This is covered by the psychotic miasm, the post nasal drip due to the inflammation of the allergies, cold and infection. Glottis or spasm of glottis.
Hello,
It
doctor.
is
Hello, doctor. How many slides remaining?
There are more slides.
Okay, we can
Okay.
do one thing.
Uh,
We can cut short
yes, sir.
at this juncture, and we
Okay.
can have a second part as per your
Okay.
convenience, because
Okay.
only just
So
5 minutes
yes,
remaining. We
sir.
need some little bit of discussion.
Yes,
Other
sir.
people will get.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us close the file for the time being.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we
Okay,
can
sir.
go ahead with the discussion, and somebody could ask some question as well as
Yes, sir.
because it's a wider subject. Otherwise, I
Yes,
thought
sir.
that we have one more session is coming.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
we
Yes.
can definitely we can have the second part of the same with specifically giving the names of the diseases to be discussed,
Yes.
so that
Yes, sir.
people
Yes.
can come in that way also, prepare themselves for that session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Anyway, it was really a very interesting and a very important session, as you rightly point out. The winter session is on the rise now, on the time now, and the upper respiratory infections are quite common now, not only in North India but everywhere. And South is about to begin. We in South is about to begin the summer also. So actually, during at this time, there will be different kind of diseases, particularly more of upper respiratory diseases coming over. And Doctor, can you please stop screen sharing so that we can see how many participants?
Sir, only three slides are remaining. May I continue for three slides only?
But no time, sir, Doctor.
Conclusive slides are there.
You can just say the conclusory part, conclusion only. Just 2 minutes only.
Sorry?
Just
Okay,
2 minutes.
okay, sir. Okay. Sharing this, the case of bronchial asthma and this my presentation of arsenic alb from the Allen's Encyclopedia that suggests that if we bring a knowledge of materia medica in the way that we are having a cases in front of us. So what is the pathology behind it? If the URTI is not treated, then it can become the trigger for LRTI. What happened just in the bronchial asthma cases? They have lingered the URTI for 5 years, and she is now having, after that, she had the case problem of bronchial asthma. So when can we choose medicine in that way? When there is no when there is a pathological simillimum, we have to choose when there is a paucity of symptoms. Where we have to prescribe constitutional medicine afterwards. But in the acute phase of the condition infection, we need to choose the pathological simillimum or the simillimum or which is very effective at that point of pathology. So this is the homeopathy integrates the clinico-pathological features into individualized remedy selection, while allopathy suppresses the inflammatory response to ensure the rapid relief. So we need to balance the understanding of the disease condition. The knowledge of disease is important, and because we are having materia medica full of diseases, but we don't know the pathology behind the materia medica, the symptoms, the pathology behind the symptoms that we are having in the materia medica. So we need to bring every symptoms in the way that we can understand the what kind of pathology can be resolved by this drug, which can be. But if when we select our medicine on the basis of pathology, once the inflammation resolves, we stop the complications, then we should go for the total simillimum, that is our constitutional remedy, which can only resolve the recurrence of the inflammatory response of the patient. So we need to understand clinico-pathological symptoms behind the pathology which is presented, and this is what I have to show you by my understanding. Thank you very much for providing this opportunity. Thank you very much, IFP. Thank you very much, Dhanas sir.
Okay.
And
Okay. Okay. Please
yes,
stop
sir.
screen sharing so that
Yes, sir.
you can see.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now I am inviting Dr. Boblin to say. Boblin, you are there. You can say auto thanks. Not only you just can have a chat, and then Dr. Sheila will say auto thanks. Dr. Bob, what's your? Dr. Bob is a leading doctor from Malaysia. Yes, Dr. Bob, please unmute. Okay. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Because I'm a bit busy with my laptop.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay.
No, okay.
Sorry.
Yes, you can say, make your comments here.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. You just say.
Okay. On behalf of the International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy, and both being from Malaysia, I wish to say a very good, what do you call that, webinar based on pathology and clinical symptoms that how homeopathy treated this URTI, and it is a very deep and a very detailed explanation by our lecturer today, and she's very well experienced and a professor also. So once again, I would say thank you very much for this very interesting webinar tonight. Over to you, Dr. Danesh.
Thank you, Dr. Bob Lim, and thank you, Dr. Jignesha Verma. Tomorrow, and those who attend the session, tomorrow we will have a session from Dr. Rodrigo Ventico from Brazil, and Doctor will be talking about the impact of oral health on systemic well-being, how oral health influences overall health. So that's a very important subject. I hope all of you will join the session tomorrow at the same time. Thank you, Dr. Jignesh Verma. Once again, thank you all. Good night.